and welcome to this year's 2000, or I guess it is 2024, but welcome to the 2024 Geekvolution Studios tour, this year's tour. And I started broadcasting earlier, and I could not get my orientation right here, so apologies to everybody that was here a minute ago. Hopefully, folks filtered back in. Sorry, I had to start this over, but it is working now. So let me get my camera flipped, and you guys will be able to. Oh, good, much better. Now I'll be able to see comments coming up vertically from my end, and I wanted to crane my head to see them. Doing this kind of low tech tonight because I want to be able to do it live, and I want to be able to walk around the place, of course, and not really a better way to do this. Hi, Jareth Gearhart, than just with my phone. So hopefully you guys can see this okay, and maybe someday I'll come up with some better equipment to be able to both do this live and have a nicer picture. But Centipede Keeper, where are you? I am in my studio, which translates to my basement, which I like to refer to as the bunker, because it is an unfinished basement, and it reminds me a little bit of the Bat Bunker from The Dark Knight. So in my last house, I called my basement the Bat Cave, and this is the Bat Bunker, which you would think would be a step down, but it's actually a massive step up, and is actually a little bit more cave-like than what I used to refer to as the Bat Cave. We've only got a couple of weeks left in 2024, so I figured I'd better go ahead and knock one of these out. Hayden Spring, just make Jason carry your webcam around. I thought about, I'm getting a lot of great comments here. I'll read those in a second. I thought about having Jason help me out with this tonight, and I actually asked him, but he was too tired from a really long dance rehearsal tonight. So I'm flying in solo, and was originally going to do some reviews tonight, but I didn't have time to prepare for them, so those will happen a little bit later, and I figured this would be a good night for this. Hi, DJ. Good to see you. Is this a workout video? No, but I've considered doing one of those because I actually now. Good to see you, DJ. Tony Suraz, it looks like a place the Foot Clan would hang out in. I have actually had that thought before, and you'll see some things that they had in the 1990 movie to entice kids to join their gang. But that's not what we're doing here. We're just being geeky and doing fun reviews. No unfortunate murders of people in Foot Clan masks that we then in post pretend are not murders. Anyway, Hayden Spring, these are words. Thank you, and I can read them. DJ, bust out the Green Reader kata for us. No, I still want to do that with you. We DJ and I talked about doing that at some point. Although DJ, I've talked about doing that with Freddie too. So maybe you could come in with us. But at some point, I'll just do that with Freddie. Hayden, stand directly on the bat carpet and do as many morphing poses as you can remember. Well, I can't mount this right on a tripod right now, so I'm not going to do that. Thomas Slow, hi Cap, never realized your basement was that big. Yeah, it's pretty massive. It is 1,000 square foot basement, and I'll get up and start walking around here in a minute. Although it is nice just being here in my desk chair because I can kind of swivel like I am on a tripod, and then you can just kind of get a nice 360 view of the whole place. But this is what it's like from my vantage when I'm at the desk. So there's my desk where I broadcast from when we do regular live shows. And then, of course, this behind us is what you guys are usually seeing. And then I've got a couch right here where I used to do a lot of commentaries from there. Now that we go live, I just stay at the desk. But Hayden Spring, Cap, what would you do if everyone in the comments was suddenly teleported into your basement? Well, I would let you guys hang out and play in the arcade over here. Because right now there's only 10 people watching live, so there's definitely enough space for everybody to hang out here. If we get up to 20, 30, 40, it would get a little bit tougher. But we just had a party down here the other night, which, by the way, is part of the reason that I decided to do this now, because I used that party as an excuse to really clean up down here, because it's been a mess working on the Superhero Rewind movie. Not to give too much away from that, but we are shooting down here quite a bit, and also just staging with costumes and props and scripts and things, which you'll see a little bit of over here, but I've hidden a lot of it to not give away too much for spoilers. It's been difficult to host down here and to do anything else but work. So now I've actually got it set up where I can walk around it and show you guys. The Star Trek area back here has been completely covered up with Christmas presents and things, and I got all of that stuff hidden away in the storage area back here. Real quick, I'll just kind of before I do any kind of nitty gritty breakdown of anything. I'll just do a real quick walkthrough and show you just the size of the space because it's even a little bit misleading just how much space is down here. So this is, and again, I'll go through all of this slower here in a little bit, but we've got the comic area and the Batman area, and then we've got the arcade here. I went for this tour with more kind of even standard lighting instead of having all of my purple mood lighting. Some of that is still around, but I think that's what I've done tours in the past. And this way you can see everything a little bit better. Jareth, this is like watching a found footage horror film. Yes, my phone cinematography skills are absolute top notch, just right up there with the Blair Witch Project and with Chronicle. CG Anime Fan, is your basement based off of the Batman animated series Penguin episode where kids try to fight the Penguin? No, because I'm always trying to forget about that one. Robert, say what you want about the Shredder, but the Foot Clan's hangout was pretty rad. It absolutely was. And then as we come around here, we get into the Star Trek area. And as you can see, I've got TV is running different game systems because we had, like I said, an arcade party the other night, and I had all this still set up. So I figured I would just put some things on the TVs so you guys could kind of see what having a party down here is like. And then I won't show you too much of this because it's a little bit unseemly right now, but back here is my storage area. So it goes all the way off back that way. And so anyway, that gives you a sense of the size of the whole thing. As we go around, feel free to ask me any questions at all. And if there's anything that you want me to hone in on and talk about, let me know. If you just see anything that looks interesting or you can't tell what it is at first glance, I will be happy to move in and show it to you. This is technically part of my collection series, which I have not had the time to knock out many of lately, but this is basically my collection of collections video. Not that all of my collections are downstairs in the bunker, but a lot of them are. And so I will show you some stuff. I will show you each of the sets of things that are kind of my main collections down here, and then we'll get even more specific as I go through those collections in various streams down the road. We are in the middle of my comic collection right now. By middle, I mean, I think we're still in the B's. I don't think we've even gotten past the Batman stuff yet, just the first couple of boxes. I'll try to get back to that in the not too distant future, but again, been busy with the movie and stuff. We're actually having an on-location shoot tomorrow night that I'm really excited about. But yeah, where should we begin? Let me look at some of these comments, and then since I just did a walkthrough, and since there's some folks here and we're being all interactive, I don't mind jumping around. So anybody throw out the area that you'd like me to look at first, and the first person I see, that's where we'll go. Hayden Spring, I'm watching Creature Commandos. I was gonna watch that today and haven't gotten around to it yet. I had a sick kid and stuff. But I am hoping to watch that tomorrow or Wednesday and then review it with Austin Wednesday night. That's probably the only planned review we're gonna do tonight, and we have now massively dated this stream. Robert, at what point are you gonna construct to look like an Enterprise bridge? It's just impractical and not very functional. Not enough seating really for as many kids as we have, and you end up having to have somebody stand behind a railing, which is just, not very comfortable. Gareth, is that X2 poster from the theater or a store? That's an excellent question. I don't know for sure because that came from Vince. He had that when I first met him, and he gave me a bunch of his old posters years and years ago when he did a move, and this was behind us in some of our old GNNs. We used to put, I think anyway, we used to put different posters that he had behind us. He had a blank wall, and every GNN we would put a different poster up. And he knew I was obsessed with X2, and I mean, he gave me, I think, the majority of his old posters, but that was one of the big ones that was kind of a big deal to get from him. And it is theater sized, I think, or is it a little bit smaller than a typical theater poster? I'm actually not really sure if it's just like slightly smaller or that size. Real quick, since we're in here, I'll show you this poster. My big Spawn year back here, which came from Austin as a gift. I think the end of last year or middle of last year. Austin gave me that for the anniversary of Spawn year, and we've been kind of treating 2013 and 2014 as the 10th anniversary of Spawn year collectively, because it should have only taken 1 year to make, but it took 2. So for me, Spawn year was 13 and 14. And for those of you who haven't seen it, I'll show you this real quick. I got a tattoo to commemorate the occasion, so I did get the Spawn symbol right here, and I'm very excited to have that one. That's the first tattoo I've gotten in about a year. But anyway, let's see what other folks are saying. Hayden, are we ever going to get a tour of just your backyard at 4 a.m.? I mean, it's not that interesting of a backyard, and our trees keep falling down, so I don't totally know what there would be to show you. But I'm not against it on principle. Tyler, planning on watching the Christopher Reeve documentary later? You should. It's wonderful, and I'm glad that it's already streaming. I kind of want to watch it again. One Reply X2 is one of the few cases when Floating Heads actually works on a poster. Yeah, I agree with you on that. Of course, we do it way too much now. Hayden Spring, you should make a Spawn year game gear, the Spawn gear. Funny you should say that, and maybe you're familiar enough with Spawn year that's why you made that reference. But Quake Arena over here is running on my custom, not that I made it or anything, but my custom, let me move Jerry Ryan out of the way here, my custom Spawn Dreamcast for anybody that hasn't seen this before. And I will show this again when we do the collection video for my video games upstairs in my game room, because that's where this usually lives. But we wanted to put the Dreamcast down here for the party we had the other night, so that's why it's sitting here right now. But it is lovely, and since it's running a game, I'm not going to open it here right now. This is one of my absolute favorite things that I own, and I bought this for Spawn year, and there is an episode where I play the Spawn Dreamcast game, which I have right here, and I bought that from eBay. I just lucked out that I got a really good deal on it, and that guy was awesome, and I still, up until, I mean, it's been a while since I talked to him, but I used to talk to him occasionally, and I'd like to get more systems from him if he's still doing that. And then here is the custom Spawn Dreamcast controller, which is unfortunately a little bit beat up now, but it's still wonderful. Anyway, real quick, a story. I'll take my time with this while we're talking to folks, so we'll probably be here at least an hour, like usual. But I want to tell you a real quick story about this game. So I wanted to review all of the Spawn video games during Spawn year, and I thought I had this already, and I had the case, but when I opened it up, I couldn't find the disc. And so this is back when I was making this 1 year. This would have been in 14, and I think it was for episode 250. I don't know the numbers as well as I used to, but I think it's around there. And I went, oh no, I'm going to have to rebuy this game. And in 2014, I was able to get a loose copy for, I believe, about $30. And now, with game prices, and especially Saturn and Dreamcast just skyrocketing through the roof, that game loose goes for between $80 and $100 now. And if I had to buy it now, it would be obnoxious. Like, that would have been a much more expensive show to make now. And all those comics are worth more than they were back then as well. And so I had to rebuy it. And I think I just bought the disc because I already had the case. So I think that case is the one I had from before. But anyway, so that game is now a $100 game, at least, which is nuts to me. And the other day, I found a bunch of my old CDs, and there were a couple of DVDs and things in that case as well. And Jason was going through them for me, and he brought me that game. So I now have 2 copies, or I guess I always have, but he finally found it. I have 2 copies of that game. So it's crazy. I guess I will go ahead and go through, because nobody seems to care where we start. I think I will go ahead and start over here at the arcade, just because this is the flashiest area, and somebody seemed really surprised to see this. It was like there's a whole ass arcade back there. Yes, there is. So this is mostly Arcade 1-Up machines. Arcade 1-Up used to put out really cool products, and these days it's not as great of a company as it once was. I mean, they still put out some okay products, but it's a lot of the same thing over and over again, and just a ton of Pac-Mans, a ton of Street Fighters, and they don't put out machines with new IPs very often anymore. By new, I just mean stuff they haven't put out before. They were just really pumping out these cabinets for a while and at really affordable prices, and it seems like they got more expensive the fewer new ones they were putting out, and I'm wondering how much longer that company has to live. I'm sorry to say, and if you keep up with 1-Up at all, you've probably heard this spiel from lots of other YouTubers. But anyway, I love the cabinets that I have. I'm kind of at capacity now, and I have a couple of cool custom jobs that I'll show you here in a minute as well. But I have 12 of these all told, and then I have a Virtua Fighter machine that's an original Virtua Fighter, but rebuilt, or not rebuilt, but made to be a main cabinet. It's got a Raspberry Pi in it. And I've got about as much space for these, or I've got about as many of these now as I've got space for. So I'm not saying I'll never get another one, but I'll probably trade something out if I do. I could change this wall back here if I wanted to get more and put some across this wall, but it would be a little bit of a challenge to deal with electricity because there's not a outlet anywhere along this wall, so I would have to run something across the ceiling or something, which is not the biggest deal. But I also really love this art wall, so I kind of hate to break that up. I used to have shelves at the bottom of this with figures, with pop figures, and I don't really want to do that again. I really like it kind of open like this with the art just going all the way down to the bottom. But anyway, I'll show you each of these machines. You've got and I don't remember anymore exactly the order I got these, but one of the earlier ones is the 4-player Ninja Turtles machine, which whenever I've shown these off, this seems to be kind of the fan favorite and the one that people that don't have these would really like to get their hands on. This is a how do I want to put it out? Kind of refurbished Arcade 1-Up machine. This used to be a Street Fighter that is converted, that's the word I was looking for, into a Switch cabinet. So it's got this really great Smash Brothers art that I think is made by somebody on Etsy that you can get, and then the original Street Fighter chip is taken out of it, and it's replaced with an apparatus that lets you hook up a Switch. And so I can run anything on Switch with it, and I only play anything that doesn't require 2 sticks. So it's really good for fighters and arcade-type games, of course, and you can play 2D platformers and things like that really well on it. And I enjoy Smash a lot more now that I have this. And I did a whole video on it, but that is one of my absolute favorite things that I have now. And then again, obviously all this is stuff that I've shown off before, but in case you haven't seen it, this is a main cabinet that's built into a coffee table, and the guy that does this is local, and he still makes these. So if you happen to live in the area and you're interested, they go between, these days, $700 and $1,000, depending on what kind of thing you get, because he builds these into tables, but he also builds full-on upright machines that are not 3/4 scale like the 1-Ups. He does the full-sized ones, and I happened to catch him during a period where he made some of these smaller ones, and they were a little bit cheaper. His tables are a bit bigger now, but this runs a bazillion things. There's like 20-some thousand games in it, and it runs everything pretty well. I've got The Simpsons running on it right now because that's a 1-Up machine that I have not bought, and one that I'm tempted by. I see it cheaper all the time. It came out at $700, which was just preposterous, and I see it for between $300 and $400 on Facebook Marketplace and eBay and stuff all the time. But it's one that I don't think would get a lot of play compared to Ninja Turtles or something, and I don't know if I'd ever get 4 people around it. So this seems good enough with just 2, but obviously I can run all kinds of stuff, and not just arcade games, but also but also console games and even handheld games going all the way back. And then I've got NBA Jam. That's of course 4-player, and that gets quite a bit of play. Galaga is the first one I bought from DJ and his brothers, so shout out to them. The first time I went to DJ's place was to pick this up in Georgia, and that started the obsession, and I just built out from there. Marvel Superheroes, which is of course, one of many Capcom Marvel fighters. I have the Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection now, which I can play on the cabinet over here that I showed you. And so I don't think I'm ever going to get the 1-up Marvel vs. Capcom 2 collection at this point, because I can already play that on one of these machines, which is really great. And unfortunately, this one does not play that game very well, but I can play all of the other Capcom fighters in that machine. So it gets redundant to have too many of the Capcom fighters because I have so many ways to play them. Killer Instinct is wonderful, and one of my favorite cabinets, especially with the extra bells and whistles that the guy that had it before me put on it. I'm not good at modding. I have no idea what I'm doing, so I've gotten really lucky to find people who do and then get decent deals on stuff. But I did recently buy a mod kit and actually did a mod myself. It's not a thing that I came up with or had to figure out. It did have instructions that came with it, but it is nice that I was able to figure it out. So these are my arcade 1-up pinball machines, digital pinball machines, and they work as close to the real thing as you possibly could get before actually getting the toys and balls. Yes, that sounds more sexual than I meant it to in my head, but without those things as you could possibly get. And the big thing you'll notice between them is that one has buttons and a stick and the other one does not, and that's because this setup is from the mod kit that I bought from a place online called Insec Gaming, I think is the name of it, and it came out at $130. It's on Amazon now for $90, which I think is absolutely worth it. And this is also now converted to a Switch machine. So I have 2 Nintendo Switches down here connected to machines now, and so I got that down here right now. There is a thing in the box where you're supposed to be able to put it behind the cabinet, and I haven't really gotten around to doing that yet, so that's why it's on the floor. But anyway, it is right now running the Captain America table, and it can run any of the Zen pinball tables or pinball tables from any other app that you can download on Switch for pinball, including the Stern app, which I have a few tables for as well. So now I'm buying more tables, and I'm wanting to get all the Williams stuff because I don't have many of those yet from Zen. But I can back out here for a second and just show you guys some of what I've got and what you can play on this. But it worked out really well. The only thing I don't like about it right now is I'm not able to run the sound very well through the pinball table. Like, it works, it just comes out really quiet for some reason, which is not a complaint I've seen very much of with this mod kit. So I got to figure out why that is. I mean, you can't hear it right now because I have the sound off on all of these so you guys can hear me talk. But anyway, here are the 11 Marvel tables that are currently available for Zen Pinball. Unfortunately, they have not put the second pack out yet. And this came out a year ago, so I don't know if they're ever going to. I'm a little concerned about it. I don't know if there's rights issues or something where now they just can't. But luckily, a lot of the best tables are here. Some of the tables that were originally included on this machine aren't on Switch right now, so I can't play Venom on this machine anymore, and I can't do Fear Itself. There's a few things like that, Civil War, but it does give me the Captain America machine now, or a table now, which is really good. The Iron Man machine is really good. Blade I really like. Moon Knight is pretty decent. So it's a decent trade-off, and the reason I didn't even explain this, the reason I did this mod in the first place is because the PCB burned out a second time in this thing. So the first time it burned out, and I talked about this in a video, was I think 3 years ago, and I and I reached out to Arcade One Up, and I was able to get them to send me another PCB, and they didn't charge me for it, which was really cool of them, especially because I didn't have any kind of proof of purchase. I bought this secondhand, and I, being no warranty or anything, I really didn't think they would do anything for me, and they did. But I didn't really want to have to deal with that a second time, and I'm like, these things are notorious for the PCBs burning out, so I went, I'm sure I'm going to have to deal with this again down the road, and maybe it will happen with the Star Wars machine as well. Complaints happen with both of these, although I don't know if with Star Wars it's a second run or the initial first run, but because I think when they put these out, past their first run, some of that got better. But anyway, I'm getting in the weeds with this, but the point is, and because eventually that PCB would, it is a superior thing, especially because with the previous PCB, the tables are only running at 720p, and they're running on, so that's this over here, and like it looks fine, and I'm sure especially just through this phone it looks fine. You won't be able to really tell the difference, but side by side, if you're actually standing here, it's very, very clear. And I'm not even all that obsessed with picture quality, but I can tell the difference between 720 and 1080, especially when one of them is the Android versions. So you're essentially playing a glorified phone game when you're playing it this way. So this has 10 Star Wars tables. I also have the game on Switch, the physical game that includes all of the Star Wars tables. There's 20 of them, so I actually can play all of those on this machine now too. So if this other one ever burns out, I will just convert it to a Switch machine, but that will make me kind of want another Switch. But I'll throw another table up here. This '09 Star Trek one is actually really quite good, as much as I'm not the biggest Abrams Star Trek fan. And if you're wondering, the back glass there that should have a scoreboard, I think there's another mod kit you can buy to somehow put the scoreboard back there. I don't know how that works. I really don't mind it the way it is. Of course, you have to set it up to run vertically, and that's why on the back it's horizontal. But you don't have to look at that. But anyway, it is finally salvaged and better than it was. So anyway, Bob the Han, you need to use mods to make a Geekvolution game. That would be cool. I don't know how I do that, but that would be great. One reply, because I'm not a mod guy. The Switch machine, in what game would I mod? That's really the question. Quake, I think. Just be me and Vince and Jason and Austin just running around shooting each other. One reply, the Switch machine sounds super fun to have. It's wonderful, yeah. There are some games that I would just much prefer to play on an arcade machine. DJ also says, it feels just like yesterday I was getting cap addicted to arcade cabinets. Yeah, thanks. I do blame you for that, by the way. Let's go ahead and go around here then, try to get around this camera light. I'm taking way too long on this stuff. I'll try to get a little bit quicker through this tour. Here is Rampage, and then Space Invaders. So I've got stuff from a couple different eras. Street Fighter 2, and then I don't know what's going on with Mortal Kombat. I don't know why this isn't turning on. Maybe it got unplugged or something. It was working fine the other day. No, there it goes. But anyway, so Street Fighter is the one that I keep considering trading out because it does not get a lot of love. I'm not a giant Street Fighter guy, and neither are my kids. But it is a really important classic cabinet, and it does feel a little bit incomplete not to have it. So I'm on the fence about it. Just for the aesthetic of it, it is nice to be there. Okay, let me come back over here for a second and just get a drink, and then we'll start looking at some other things. Okay, what else can I show you? Let me go back around here while I'm thinking about it, and hit, I don't know if this is interesting to anybody, but just hit an addition here. So I've put all of my geeky wardrobe down here. Obviously, we have a master bedroom, and I don't sleep down here most of the time anyway. I do have a bed down here for the occasion that I do want to sleep down here. But obviously, I'm married. My wife and I share a bedroom, and I have a wardrobe upstairs. But all my geeky stuff that I might use for camera, I've got down here now, which is super, super handy. And so all my geeky t-shirts. And Sarah was really cool to set up this kind of makeshift closet for me to put all those down here. Okay, so here is the Batman area. So I've got a lot of Batman trades and books and things. And again, I'm a broken record, but down the road we'll get all of this out and do a whole collection stream about that. Here is my collection of Adam West Batman figures, both from McFarlane and from Mattel, but most of McFarlane at this point because they put so much out. And I used to buy these in the wild at Target. This was a collection kind of like my Batman Pop collection, where my rule was always I only buy it in the wild because I don't want to get online and go nuts with it. Although with Pops, that's a bigger problem. But I don't see them in Target anymore, like I used to, and so I'm behind on them. There's an Alfred that came out recently, and there's a Bookworm that I need to get. I think I've decided that I'm not gonna get, with an exception or two, that I'm not going to get comic characters that weren't actually in the show to try to make the collection a lot more just about the Adam West TV show. I did make an exception for Two-Face, but that was technically on screen because of the William Shatner movie. They finally did a King Tut a while back, which makes me very happy. But anyway, they've done some things from the comics now, which are neat and would be cool to have, and I love that comic series, but I do think this collection is cooler just being the Adam West TV characters, and this could get out of hand, kind of hard to display. So anyway, I've got all the playsets they've put out so far. I've got all the vehicles. And they've done some weird variants that I don't know if I necessarily have to have either. So I'm not going totally completionist on it. It's kind of more just about making these displays look cool. Hayden Spring, I've seen the Superman figure from that line. Yeah, that's kind of where I draw the line. Like, I don't know if I really need that for this. But anyway, so here are the play sets. You've got, I won't go through every figure and stuff. Again, I'll do a video on this eventually. I might be 50, but I'll get there. So here is, I used to make the joke, I'll finish this when I'm in my 40s. Now I'm starting my 40s, and so now I can say when I'm 50. So here's the Batcave, of course, with the atomic pile, and that's the first of these they put out. And then they put out the villain headquarters from the movie, and then they put out the Wayne Manor playset with the bat poles, which I never thought we'd get and always wanted, and I'm really happy they did that. Now my hope is that, like, the last one we really need is just, and by the way, I need to get some lighting over here like I have for these two stations. But anyway, my hope is that eventually we get the police headquarters playset. That would be the last big one. And then, although it would be cool to get another villain hideout, like a Riddler or a Joker or something. And then here is the Batmobile, which right now I just have these silly plushes that my wife got me in this Batmobile. I found those the other day, and so I had to put them somewhere. So I've got that, and then I've got the Batboat and the Bat Cycle. And I'm really hoping eventually for a Batcopter. Hopefully that happens. And then I always show this guy off, but here is the Shakespeare head. This is a bank. And then some other posters, collectibles, and things along the wall. Some of my Batman Pops are still over here, mostly because they're too tall to go in the main Batman Pop area. So I know that sounds nuts, because if you've not seen my Batman Pop collection, you might be surprised to find that this is not all of it. Because a lot of people that collect just a single character, that this would be a collection. But this is just a small handful of what I've got now. And you'll notice there are some characters that aren't Batman here. I for the most part, draw the line at Batman. Occasionally somebody will give me another character that's cool. It's not like I get rid of them just because they're not Batman. And sometimes there's a thing that's just too cool for me not to get. I love it too much. So I have been cheating a little bit with Batman 89. I kind of want to get that whole line now that they're putting those out. Like this Joker from the commercial um, on the news in the '89 movie. I just could not help myself. I had to have that. And then I loved the Catwoman from Long Halloween. So like there's some things that I have felt the need to grab, even if they're not straight up Batman things. And then this is like a pride and joy thing for me now. And you'll notice it's the only Batman pop I have still in the box. I devalue these immediately when I buy them, partly because I love what they look like too much outside of the box, and when you take them out, you'll notice a lot of detail and things that you wouldn't see in the box, which is true of, all action figures really. Um, but you could just take them out of the box, be really careful with the box, put them back in it, and not lose too much value. But I don't plan on ever getting rid of this stuff, and at the point I might think to do that, I imagine most of this will be worth nothing. The bubble will finally burst on pop, if that ever happens, because it's kind of preposterous. It still hasn't completely, although the value of a lot of the bigger things has dropped quite a bit, which is why I actually have Zur-En-Arrh now, which was the holy grail for Batman pops and the one I never thought would be remotely affordable. And I'm not the one that bought it. This came from my buddy Kareem, who is one of our viewers and has been in some videos with us. And he's actually going to appear in the Superhero Rewind movie. And he has been in my writer's workshop for a long time. Kareem is a wonderful guy. He came down to shoot with me, and it was one of the best experiences I've had making the movie. He's just wonderful. I can't wait for you guys to see him in it. And I as a gift, he brought me the Zur-En-Arrh Batman, which I still can't get my mind around that he did that. I have no idea what he paid for it. I know what they tend to go for on eBay now, and that used to be a like $400 or more pop. It has dropped all the way down now. I've seen them as low as I think like 150. Again, I don't know what he paid for it. And I'm not bragging that, oh, I've got a YouTube following and there's a guy that likes me enough that he spent that much money on me, but it's just we're friends and he was doing a really cool, nice thing for me. He did not have to do that, and I still cannot get my mind around that. So it's one of my absolute favorite price possessions now, partly because of the way I got it. Thanks, Kareem. And then people always like the Batman Forever glasses. You still see these at flea markets and stuff all the time, but rarely a complete set. I've got all of it. I actually used to have this twice, and I gave the other ones away or sold them or something. I forget. Um, Here, of course, is the comic collection. I need to do some reorganizing and some filing, as you can tell. It's not looking as clean as it ought to. But I've been rummaging around and moving stuff around, making the collection videos, and that's one area that needs a little bit of work here. Here is the Billy Kincaid teddy bear from Spawn year. Somebody asked, by the way, if let me see who it was, and then I'll answer the super chat real quick. Um, Somebody asked if these things will appear in the Superhero Rewind movie. And I just want to check and see what exactly he was talking about. Oh, I'm sorry. That was actually the super chat. I'm dumb. Pros and cons guy, $2 super chat. Will these be in your movie you are making? And I don't know what specifically he's referring to, but if you just mean the stuff in the bunker, yes, we are shooting down here. This, as you might not be too surprised to find out, will be one of the main areas that we deal with in the movie. And I want to think it's a cool enough space that it won't come off lame that we're just shooting in my basement. But not that we're just shooting here. There are other locations in the movie, certainly, but it is a big mainstay, set for lack of a better word, and we get a lot of mileage of it out of it. We do quite a bit down here. Robert, oh cool, you got the '89 Beach Joker, yeah, and I. I also have, not that this was recent, but you've maybe seen this, but I also have the big '89 Joker, and that's part of the reason I bought that other one. Is I'm like, now it's hard not to buy the '89 Jokers. So I don't know, they're not doing a ton of those. It's not like there'll be a big collection there, but there are a lot of, not to the degree of Batman, there are a lot of Joker pops, and that's not a collection I'm going to start, but I want the '89 ones. Bob Han, will your movie have your catchphrase in it? I'm referring, of course, to "It Depends." Um, I don't think that phrase actually appears in the movie, but maybe I'll try to sneak it in somehow now. the 10% we have left to shoot. Tyler, I had the Batman glass. And somebody else, Jera said, yay, the McDonald's glass. See, everybody loves the McDonald's glasses. Tyler says, I had the Batman glass when I was a kid, not sure what happened to it. Well, they're still not too hard to get if you ever wanted to replace it. Robert, but I digress is another favorite catchphrase. That is true. Dan Schneider, case by case. Everybody's just throwing out the phrases. I can't stop you. I got, somebody made fun of me the other day for rough and tumble. That's one I use a lot. That I didn't even realize I used a lot, but I do. Busted Sim, how often do you have everything running at once? Not very often, really just for parties. And sometimes when the kids come down here and play, and we're kind of treating it like an arcade night, I'll turn on all the arcades. But yeah, I don't do that very frequently, and I don't recommend having these on all day, every day. They're just not built for that. They are glorified toys before they're, honest to God arcade machines, certainly. And I recognize and accept that fact. CG Anime Fan, will you get the Vicky Vale one? See, yeah, I really want to. I haven't yet, just because I keep trying to decide if I'm going to be completionist with those. But I love that she is holding the mask that she wears in the Flugelheim. It's great. It makes me happy. And it's hilarious when the pop figures, because they all, kind of look the same, have to have some kind of artifact like that just so you can tell what the heck it is. It makes me laugh. It's wonderful. Okay, let me show you guys some other stuff. So we got my cabinet of statues, Batman statues here, and I don't think anything has really changed from the last time I showed this off. I don't know if I put anything in here new from this year. Let me move this chair over, and you can see this Barnes & Noble statue from the bottom. As I've talked about a million times, I really only collect plastic statues because they're cheaper and they don't break as easily, of course. Do I have anything resin or porcelain? Maybe I've got a couple of things that, or ceramic. Yeah, a couple of these are, but most of these are like $50 to $60 initially. Statues, a lot of them Diamond Select, but some of those things do get collectible and expensive, and I have a few that if I sold them would go for more than I paid for them. Robert, Cap is draining the nearby nuclear power plant to power all this stuff on a daily basis. That's not true. The arcade one-ups really aren't that much of a power drain. Hayden, Flugelheim will be the name of Cap's next pet. That's pretty good. That one is pretty good. Okay, and then I've got the rest of my trades down here. I've kind of slowed down or sort of stopped buying trades. I read so much in digital now, but every now and again there'll be a compendium or something that I want. I am collecting The Walking Dead and the Spawn compendiums. Hayden, oh yes, Robert, I did get I couldn't help it, the Batman Returns duck with the penguin there. It's wonderful. Yeah, I make exceptions here and there. Big Bad Toy Store says Hayden has the Koda Bukia. I'm sure I completely ruined that. Carnage statue on sale, and I'm so tempted. I don't know which one that is. I don't know if I've seen that. I do have a plastic Carnage statue, which again is a Diamond Select thing. I know I've been back in this corner a lot, but I'll show you guys these statues real quick. These are mostly statues. There's a couple of figures back here, and once again, this really hasn't changed. I've got a Phoenix up here who is kind of in front of some things because I've just run out of space up here. But I think even she was probably down here the last time I did a tour video. This Marvel Angela is new though, from the last time I did one of these, as is probably this Donatello, but I don't know if the giant Shredder Pop, the Super Shredder Pop, was down here before. And then that Spawn figure is one of my absolute favorite things, partly because my wife gave it to me way back when we were dating, and it features quite a bit in Spawn here. Okay, moving right along, and I'm trying to aim in on some things that I'm not going to comment on or talk about, but just so that you guys can see them. Let's head... Actually, let me just get another drink here real quick. I'm talking a lot. Here is the Batman Resurrection novel, and I just have not had a lot of time to read lately, so I'm hoping to review this at some point. I haven't finished it yet. It's been a few weeks. I kind of want to start over at this point, but I really like what I've read of it so far. Tyler, did you get the DC versus Marvel Omnibus? I haven't. I'm a little tempted by that, mostly because I can't believe it came out. But I own most of those things in singles, so and I don't know how I like that stuff's not great, but it's interesting and it's funny. I don't know how often I would actually pull it out and look at it. So I'm on the fence about it. Hayden, I'm also wanting the MAFEX Carnage figure, but I can't justify a $100 figure. Sure, absolutely. Hayden Spring, show us your water heater. Okay, absolutely. Let's go look at the water heater. Yeah, here it is. So I used to have a really silly cardboard box wall that was blocking all of this, as some of you guys will remember. And I finally pulled that out because just they were kind of falling over and it was a little bit unsightly. And I didn't think that just seeing the water heater was any more or less unsightly than that was. Sarah and I are planning on eventually getting a wall built here. Yes, we're going to build that wall. And we'll put a door in it so that you can get into the storage room. And it's really the only thing we want to do down here to finish anything. We've talked about a bathroom back here because there's actually plumbing hookups in the corner back there behind the arcade machines, but then I would have to take out some of the arcade. So I don't know if that's ever going to happen. I don't want to fully finish this because I personally really like the look of it. I know some people think that I'm kind of crazy for dealing with just a completely unfinished basement down here, but I've always liked the industrial look, and I don't really want to change it. But the other reason I went ahead and came over here, since he said that, and I thought it was funny, is I think this might be new from since last time. I'm not sure, but I need to clean this up a little bit, but I have a little kitchenette area over here that right now is serving mostly as a little makeshift bar, and I don't really drink hardly at all anymore, but I still have this for just the very occasional drink that I want to have, or when I have people over that do drink. So I still have some rum and some whiskey, and vodka was my thing of choice. And there's some Fireball over there. A lot of the stuff I can't really have anymore because of my histamine condition, which I've talked about a little bit. And that's not a new thing. I just have discovered now that I have it, and it's gotten a little bit worse. And so alcohol really exacerbates it. And alcohol in different forms is a little bit better. So I don't drink beer hardly at all anymore. I can occasionally do a Boulevard, but that's about it. So the only thing I still do is you'll notice that there's a bottle of cranberry juice over here. I'll do a cran vodka every now and again, and that's about what I can handle at this point. Really just one or two maybe. So I don't know. That might come down at some point just because I'm hardly using it. But yeah. So anyway, again, I do work out on a daily basis, or most days anyway. That elliptical back there is broken, and I need to get rid of it. I just haven't gotten around to it. We're going to do a big trash pickup soon, and I'll have that out of the house. But I haven't used that in probably a year since it broke. So I do a mix of cardio and weightlifting. And so everything else you see there on the floor I use on a regular basis. And I use this punching bag a little bit. Okay, so over here, as I mentioned earlier, alluded to, here is the Batman art wall. This also has not really changed. I'm really happy with the look of it, and occasionally I'll see something that I think would look really great on it, but I don't know what I want to take out, especially because it's a little bit of a jigsaw puzzle. So if you take something off of it, you have to replace it with something the same size, or a couple of things that fit in that space and don't look like they have too much extra space, or take everything off the wall and rearrange the whole thing. And I am just pretty happy with it. So the other day I found a really pretty wall hanging that I kind of want to get, but I don't know where the heck it would go. So I've really slowed down on buying art in general. There's maybe one or two things here that I could see taking down if I found something I liked better. Let's see what else people are saying here. And Cap will make Brandon pay for that wall. That's exactly what I'll do. Bus is saying the bar is for the Geekvolution Christmas streams. That's true. But we're gonna do a Christmas stream next week. I'm probably not gonna drink on it, or if I do, it's not gonna be very much. Like I said earlier. Let's see. Hayden, I'm excited for the Christmas stream where that cart gets completely emptied. Yeah, we're not gonna do that this year. No, we're not. Hayden Spring is Jason. You're Mickey. I have no idea what that means. I'm sorry, I don't even understand that. Okay, I won't spend too much time on this because I know I'm the only person that cares, but I'm still very proud of my Power Rangers Heroes of the Grid collection, which is my favorite board game, and I'm much more into tabletop than I ever used to be thanks to this game. I've gotten a lot in the way of board games the last 3 to 4 years, and I've kind of switched my comic buying habits to a board game buying habit. I really don't buy comics the way I used to. I don't keep up with new anymore. I still gap fill. I still buy comics every now and again. But as far as new stuff goes, it's a lot more about the board games now, and I'm really out of space. Mostly because I need to find another place to put the Tick collection so that I can keep putting board games across this thing. As you see, they've taken over half of it, and then I've got this monstrosity over here with a bunch more. This is a big hobby for me and Freddie especially, who is kind of a master strategist, that kid, and he's really competitive. He's really got a head for strategy games. Power Rangers Heroes of the Grid is ending next year finally, which is sad, but there's so much of it. I'm just really happy that it's gone for as long as it has. It's one of the biggest living miniatures games there's ever been. It's ridiculous, just the sheer number of releases we've had, and they're going to end with a bang next year. They're going to have a huge Kickstarter with a bunch more figures and a bunch of extras, and I'm really excited about it. But I still paint, I still play, and I'm still really behind on my painting. I've also started with Freddie to get into Marvel Zombies, which I'm looking right now and trying to remember where I even put that. Is that... Oh, it's down here. So here are the two core games, Marvel Zombies and X-Men Resistance. One, you're able to play as the zombies themselves in that first one, and then the second one, you play as the heroes fighting the zombies, and there are cards for each of them where you can play either, once you start mixing and matching, either as the zombies or as heroes. It's a really good strategy game. It's part of Zombicide, and I don't think he'll watch this whole video, so I think I can get away with mentioning here that that's Freddy's big Christmas present, is the other expansions, the rest of Marvel Zombies, which is, there's a ton of it, and when we're all done, he's going to have 250 figures that I'm going to probably have to paint. So anyway, nobody tell Freddy, nobody tell him. I've still got my big Tick collection. I have not added much to this in a long time because I'm so close to complete for the 90s stuff anyway. Not that I own every Tick thing that ever existed, but I'm probably closer to that than most anybody else that's into this character. And the most recent things I bought, and things that would not have been in the last video, are and I'll, again, do another stream updating with the Tick eventually, but the Long Box Heroes Tick figures, which I bought in at Mayhem Comics in Iowa. So you've got this version of the Tick, and then there's a variant, or not a variant, but just a different kind of color Tick wearing his tie. These are both comic book Ticks, so not from the animated series. And then this one is the first and only Barry Hubris figure that has ever been made, which is the main reason I had to have these. But since I collect the Tick, I bought all of them at Mayhem, and it's great that I didn't have to order those because, honestly, I forgot to get the pre-orders, and then he happened to have them there, which made me very happy. And then I also, not too long ago, actually at the local mall here, which has a really cool pop culture store with a lot of retro stuff, I got the Patrick Warburton Tick figure. So I had the other three figures in this line. You see Captain Liberty back there, and then Arthur is back there. I'm not sure where Batman Well is right now. I've got all of them. And the Tick was always more expensive than the other three, and so I didn't get him for a long time just because I thought I could do better than 40 or 50 bucks. And I did. I think I paid 28 or 30 there, which was a decent deal for that. And then also, at that same time, I finally got another copy of the Tick board game from the 90s. Maybe I'll do a video on that at some point. It's not great, but there's fun things in it, and it represents the IP really well. Anyway, I had that from when I was a kid. I bought it at a KB Toys for cheap, and at some point in a move or something, it got crushed real bad, and so I had to get rid of it, and I finally found a relatively pristine copy. I'm not going to pull it out right now. You'll just have to take my word for it, but it looks pretty nice. So I'm very happy to finally have my hands on that. And I guess I forgot to turn that TV on, but it was running Mario Kart 64 the other day. As you'll note, if you haven't seen one of these videos before, I have comic racks throughout where I display some comics. I would love to display a lot more because I have so much stuff. I have so many cool covers. I have so many collectible, classic comics that I love people to be able to see. And I just don't have a real great way to put anything like as much of it on the walls as I'd love to. Like, I'd love to display 500 to 1,000 books at any time. And the best idea I've come up with, short of just taping stuff to the walls, which I really don't want to do, because I just I don't trust that they won't get messed up, especially down here where with temperature changes and stuff. The best thing I can come up with is there are these beams that run throughout here, and I could put a bunch of comics sideways across them, which I've thought about doing, but you'd be displaying them sideways. And again, I do worry a little bit about them being up close to ductwork and stuff, and getting and getting kind of messed up with temperature changes. So I don't know if anybody has any ideas about that. Let me know if you think that's a horrible idea or if I should attempt that. Jareth Gearhart, what is that lighting thing? Okay, so I don't know what these are called, but they're kind of like plasma balls, and they work sort of the same way, except they don't make your hair stand up when you touch them. But you can make different, I almost said patterns, but I guess you can just, make kind of little lighting effects by touching it, which is super cool. And these were popular in the 90s. It was a Spencer Gifts thing, and just like those plasma balls. And you'll see these in science fiction shows from the time all over the place. That's what's on the top of Borg alcoves in TNG and Voyager, etc. And those are green there. I kind of wish mine was, but I've always wanted one, and Brandon found one for me, and I have the box for it, which is super cool too. So it's period. This comes from like the mid-90s, so it's 30 years old now. There is a company, I think, that still makes them, but they make really small ones. I don't think you can get one this big anymore. And it runs really hot. I can't turn this on all the time. So I'm really, I use it very sparingly. I don't know how safe it even is. Because the box on the floor that it's connected to, it always gets really, really hot. So I'm kind of careful about what I have around it. But yeah, watch old sci-fi shows from the 90s, and invariably you will find these things in those. But anyway, that's one of my favorite things I have now, and I can't believe Brandon found one at a thrift store or something. But yeah, so 100% complete on Power Rangers Heroes of the Grid. Not anywhere close to completed with painting, but I've gotten into painting again a little bit more recently, and my mom's been helping me. She painted ceramics all when I was growing up, and that's one of her hobbies, so it's been a thing we've shared together a little bit. This Red Ranger helmet is new from the last time I did this. The Zed helmet probably isn't. I think I had that... that's been around for at least a couple years now, if not longer. There's my Gold Ranger staff, of course, which is one of my favorite things. And I've got more Power Ranger stuff that's not down here, just because I don't really have a big enough area for it. And I think all of these statues were here last time too, except for maybe Green Ranger version 2 here. That came out, and I forget if that was a Diamond Select thing or not. But that came out, I think, maybe last year. So I had to move Zed out to the top of the case next to his helmet because I'm out of space. And I had to get version 2 because the original Green Ranger that was with the rest of this collection is the one that is really collectible and that people ask for outrageous amounts of money for. And then at the bottom here are the deluxe, giant Heroes of the Grid figures. And I do need to replace my Gold Arc. I still got a broken wing. I bought a model of a Krispy Kreme building that I found on Facebook Marketplace for like $10 because the 2017 movie was obsessed with Krispy Kreme. And I thought it would be really funny to pose Heroes of the Grid figures in front of it. And so I bought that on a whim. I couldn't help myself. It actually has a Krispy Kreme sign that goes on top of it, but it was already broken off when I bought it, and so I've got to glue that back on there. But I don't know. I just thought that was really funny. I couldn't help but grab that. Let me see what else people are saying here. Robert, how often do you go out in public wearing that Zed helmet? Well, it's impractical. It's hard to see out of, so not more than once a week. Busted Sim, Jerry Ryan must have loved standing under those, giving off more heat already, dealing with the studio lights and those dang catsuits. Yeah, good call. Jarrett, that's really cool. Yeah, thanks. Tyler sounds too risky. I would be, I'm sure he's still talking about this electro display thing. I don't know what to call that, but the Borg alcove. Yeah, it probably would be if it was on carpet. I would be a lot more worried about it, but like I said, I never turn it on for more than a couple hours at a time, or a few hours at a time. Hayden Spring, I'm the one who showed you those Tick figures, I think. I think you are, yeah. Thanks a lot for that, man. Appreciate it. No, don't tell him, Hayden. Don't tell Freddie. Don't tell Peter. Tyler Hickman's Ultimate Spider-Man is good. I loved the first issue. I've not read past that. Hayden behind the television. What behind the television? What behind the television? Prominently displaying the Tick collection in the living room behind the television. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes. Well, I could. I have considered putting it in my office, but I would have to move some books. So I've got this this bookcase back here. I keep going back here. That I figure eventually the superhero movie collection might expand out to this bookcase, and I'll have to move these books. But I've also thought about putting my Tick collection back here, maybe between that and this bookcase over here, or just on this bookcase back here. Be a good place for it. But I don't know where exactly I'd put the rest of those books. And I like having my writing books and stuff close. I don't get them out a lot, but it is nice to have those there. Some of my most valuable and collectible comics are on this rack right now. So I'm not going to talk about each of these individually, but I'll just run down and see if you guys recognize any of these covers from just the tops of them. Some of this is stuff that I've talked about pretty recently in a collection stream. Anyway, we are past an hour. So I will show you just, as briefly as I can, the Star Trek area here, and then that's probably about it for today. So the Star Trek area has also kind of spilled over into Turtles, because I have some Turtles things that I want to display and not have upstairs. It's kind of weird how Star Trek and Ninja Turtles have sort of blended, but in my defense, Playmates owned both licenses for a long time, and I guess they do again now, weirdly enough. But anyway, so I have been collecting recently. This is kind of a big splurge for me this year. The and I'm not going to be buying hardly anything next year. I'm going to take some time off from collecting because I went a little bit nuts this year. But anyway, I'm collecting the reissues that Playmate's doing for some of the 87 Turtle stuff. And I did a whole video about that collection if you want to see it. So I'm not going to pull them out, but some of the, well, I guess I should say the accessories and things are in this cabinet. And then all of the figures, because I have opened them. I kept all the card backs though. So those are in that cabinet there. But all of the figures and some of the vehicles and things are in this tub, and I'm very careful with this stuff because I bought it for me and to collect and to possibly display, but I'm also letting my kids play with them because they when I opened them, I reacted a lot more excited to them than I expected them to. So I have been letting them play with them. But anyway, I finally got the Technodrome, which was supposed to come out earlier this year and got delayed forever. So I had it on pre-order since like July or August. And it finally came in last week. I just started getting around to building it, but there's a million stickers, and it is taking a little while. So I'm not anywhere close to done with it, but hopefully I'll have that put together this week. Um, and I might make its own video, or I might talk about it just on an updated Turtle stream at some point. But I'm really mad at Amazon for screwing up the box. They put all these stickers on it in shipping that I can't pull off without damaging the box. Like I tried, this sticker here, it's taking up all the art with it. So I can't take these stickers off. And part of the reason I'm buying these reissues instead of spending the extra money to go back and get the originals, it is complete as I can. And a complete Technodrome is like $1,000. Some people like maybe you can get one for 700 or 800, but I mean they get expensive. And usually they're when you do that, they're nearly complete, but you still have to buy extra pieces of it from different people. So anyway, one of the reasons I did this was so that I could have the boxes and display them. And I finally got a Technodrome, and they ruined the box. I'm not happy about that, but it'll be great to have the Technodrome. And as you notice, I do have the Mega Bloks Technodrome, and there's the box for that down here, which I found recently and went ahead and just threw down here. As you see, it is itself near complete only now because somebody backed into it at some point and knocked some of the pieces from the bottom off. Maybe that happened twice or something because that's happened to both sides. And there's unfortunately a couple of pieces that are just straight up broken now. So I don't know if I'm going to try to glue those back together or what, but it's still a piece I love, and I can't bring myself to take it down and put it back in the box. But I should try to salvage that at some point as best as I can. Down here are a couple of paintings that I did over the summer. If you haven't seen these, here is a purple velociraptor head. I'm sure you guys will just be shocked that I made it purple and that it's a velociraptor. And then here is a little Batman piece I did. This is the first thing I attempted on canvas, so it's not great, but it's kind of cool. And I've done a few other pieces now too that I don't have sitting right here, but I've posted on the community tab here and there. Here is a collection of just various trinkets and things from Star Trek, which once again, I'll do a video on this stuff eventually, and we'll probably have several Star Trek streams because I just have so much stuff. Here's the Playmate Star Trek collection, which I've not added to in a very long time, but I've got just enough space in this glass case, so I slowed down on that. Here are both of the Star Trek Build-A-Bears. I think that TNG one is new from the last time I did one of these collection streams. And then my Star Trek reference library and Star Trek novels library. It will take forever to go through all of this when we do a stream on it, but I'm always adding to this. There definitely are some new things since last time, but I'm not going to go through all of it right now, of course. Over here is yet another miniatures game that I got into. This is Star Trek Away Missions, which is Freddie's favorite game right now. It is a lot of fun, and we've got all the expansions for it at this point. They don't seem to be making anymore. They haven't announced anything in months. So I think Gale Force 9 might be done with this game. Maybe it didn't sell very well. I'm not sure. It's sad. As cool as it is, I guess, this is another strategy game. As cool as it is to have Kirk and Scotty, and for each of these, by the way, you get a whole away team. So it's not just Scotty; it's some other characters with him. As cool as it is to have those, if it was going to have to shut down prematurely, it would have been nice if it all stayed 24th century, considering that the premise of the whole thing is built around the battle at Wolf 359 with the Borg. So they had to finagle a silly reason that suddenly characters from the 23rd century are involved. Would have been really nice if they went from TNG just straight to Voyager, and since it's so Borg centered in the first place, but you also get to play as Klingons and Romulans. and there's a lot of really cool extra mechanics in each of the boxes there. Um, okay, what else do I need to show you here? Let me see what other folks are saying in the comments. Noel Anderson, what season of Power Rangers is your favorite? I always say Dino Thunder, but the third season of Mighty Morphin is way up there, and I always say, like, I recognize how great SPD and RPM are, what I've seen of them, but they're not my favorites just because of what I grew up with and such. Oh, that was an older comment that I just now saw. Tyler Sayas, I meant the comic placement. Oh, I missed that. Okay, sorry about that. Must figure out where to put the tick collection is really ticking cap off. It is. Drives me nuts. Well, back at the old house, I had to box it up for a long time. I had no space for it. CG Anime Fan, do you collect VHS tapes? Not super actively anymore, although I have started buying more superhero ones, and I would like a complete collection of superhero VHS at some point. So here are pretty much all the superhero VHSs. There might be a couple in some other spots. But there's X-Men there to the right, and then you can see I've got all the Batman movies and Mask of Zorro and some other things. Jason has been collecting VHS really hard lately, though. He's just getting clamshells, and mostly Disney so far, because of course all of Disney was on clamshell, the Disney classic, animated movies. But he's buying everything he can get that's a clamshell, and he recently went to a big sale at Vintage Stock and bought like 20 at like $1 a pop, or maybe he bought more than that. I can't remember. Nicholas Bodo, this looks great, Cap. Oh, thanks. I'm not sure. Oh, that looks great. I don't know if he's talking about something in the Star Trek area or what. Busted Sim, but thanks. Can you steam them off? Those stickers, even if you did, it looks like the damage is already done. It looks like they've already taken the art with them. I'm not totally positive, though. Did you try a hair dryer, says Gareth. Yeah, I didn't think of that. Maybe I'll try that now. Busted Sam, Cap, remember when we liked most of Star Trek? Yeah, those were the good old days, man. And as you noticed in that area, I didn't linger on anything too long, but I don't collect any of the new Trek stuff. I mean, there's a couple of books here and there now that I begrudgingly, had to deal with new Trek stuff just because I wanted them too much. Like the new book that the Nah Visitor put out about women in Star Trek. I've got that, and it has sections on all of the new Trek shows. Nothing I can do about it. I wanted that book. I've talked about the Star Trek Encyclopedia before. That's another Holy Grail item that I got this last year that I never thought I could get my hands on. The new updated one from several years ago now, which they didn't print enough of them, and online people command $400-$600 for that all the time. And I got really lucky and found one locally in the wild for like, what did I pay for that? $150 maybe for the set. It was a big deal that I was able to do that. So I'm very happy about that, and it's really pretty. The Okudas did a wonderful job on that, as they do with everything. But yeah, I can sit here and talk about the Star Trek stuff forever, and I'll eventually do a stream on that. I didn't show this wall, which again is a thing that has not changed much in a long time. I've still got this old 2023 calendar that I've not gotten rid of yet and put a different calendar in place of, just because I think that picture is so funny that I have just left it on August from 2023. But I will put another calendar there eventually. And I actually now own all of, or most of at least, the Star Trek calendars from the early 80s going all the way up to like, I don't know, 2003, 2004. That's some of the stuff that I got in that giant collection I bought from Vince's mom, who was just obsessed with Star Trek. And her collection was amazing. and I've really beefed up my Star Trek novels with her stuff, and so I have everything from the late '90s going all the way back as far as Star Trek novels go. A lot of magazines and stuff like that. This file cabinet has the whole magazine collection in it. And again, at some point, I'll have to go through all this stuff. I mean, we can probably do a video on just the magazines. There's so much of it. And then, I mean, I've got some things even under the bed here that we'll have to go through. So I don't know. It's a ton. Well, I'm going to start walking around again. And if there's anything else that anybody watching live right now would like me to talk about, let me know. Nicholas Bodo, the whole setup of the basement. Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, I really appreciate it. I'm proud of it. I like to run through this every year just because it's always changing. I'm always adding stuff, and people seem to enjoy the walkthroughs. This Batman Bugs Bunny just came out at Target, and it was a silly splurge, but I just couldn't help it. I loved what he looks like, and he's just really well made. This is like the old Applause stuffed animals that the Warners used to put out. We had like a big Taz and a Martian Manhunter, or not Martian Manhunter, Marvin Martian when I was a kid, and I love the sheen on him and the material the cape's made out of. I don't know. He's a wonderful addition down here. I just love putting him or having him on my chair here. Nicholas Bodo, heard great things about the Q books. Q Who is generational. I'm not really sure what he means by that, or which Q books. I mean, there are some books that Q is in that I have read that are fine. Not that I've read a ton of novels, but I have read a few books with Q in them. There's a Q Continuum 3-parter from the mid-90s that is terrible, but I'm not sure what he's talking about. Wood Green Beanie, I'm hoping to have a similar collection room one day. Yeah, this is really a dream of mine, and a lot of it had to do with just having the space to do it. I mean, if you go back to, and I have a bad habit of filling my spaces. When we have 1,000 square feet, it gets really dangerous. I've said this before, but and for those of you that aren't from around here and don't know what I'm talking about, I'll explain it. But there's enough space to put like a vintage stock down here. Like I've been to those that are about this size, which is just a local store. I referenced it earlier, a local chain of. They sell a lot of retro stuff and new and resale. Nicholas Bodo, you showed your Batman comic collection, right? I showed part of it, if you're talking about in the collection streams, and of course I'm not going to go through any of the comics right now individually, but I've gone through a lot of them. I think we're still in the B's. Or did I get past Batman? But you know what? I did. I got past Batman, but there's other Batman-related books that I'm not to yet. Yeah, the Q Continuum books are not very good. Nicholas Bodo, Bat Bugs looks adorable. Yeah, he's great. He's great. I love little accent things like that. And I'm a sucker for cool stuffed animals. I can't help myself. I don't know what you want from me. Yeah, I think that might do it. Robert, how is your Rebel Moon collection coming along? I abandoned that before I started. I went, that's got to be where I draw the line. I went back and I remembered all the Ninja Turtles I bought this year, and I went, I'm not buying Rebel Moon. I haven't even watched the second part. We were going to review it. We had so much fun reviewing that first part, and I just didn't get around to it. I couldn't get excited about it. And then they put out that giant 4-hour cut of all of it, and I was like, I don't care. I don't care enough to do that now. If people were clamoring for it and they just really had to hear us talk about that, I would be, more likely to jump the gun and get it done, but I don't care enough, I don't think. Well, anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the bunker tour. Obviously, more stuff I could have highlighted and talked about, but we're going to do some collection streams, and I will do another one of these next year. I do these every year. I didn't mention again my Batman CRT TV, which is another thing I love. I put Sonic the Fighters on here just because that game's hilarious. But I had the Batman DVD player that was put out along with this back when it came out, and it stopped working within 6 months. This was back in like '06, '07, which was really sad. And I never found the TV until a couple years ago. Somebody had it on Facebook Marketplace, or maybe it was last year, I forget. And I went ahead and bought it, and it still got the remote, which is super cool. I did a video about this. I did a video about this and Laserdisc at the same time, if you ever want to go back and check out that video. One of the few not live things that I've done in the last couple of years. Nicholas Bodo had a good time. I'm glad. Thanks a lot, man. Well, I will see you guys again in a couple of days with another stream. Tomorrow night, I'm doing another location shoot for the movie, like I mentioned. And then my wife is out of town part of this week, so I'm having to change up the schedule and do some things next week when I was originally planning on being off. But so just stay tuned. Wednesday night, if all goes according to plan, I'm going to go ahead and do Creature Commandos. But I'm not promising anything because it's a really weird week and something could come up. Like I said, I've got a sick kid tonight, or has been sick all day, and I'm hoping that the rest of the kids don't come down with what she's got. But anyway, life is complicated but wonderful, and I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. It's been a lot of fun. Dan Schneider, make sure to get It Depends in the movie. Okay, I will make a note of that. And I'll make sure that it's not already in there. Or one of your catchphrases. Well, there are, I'm not going to tell you what, but there's definitely at least one or two of those. Senior 6 Cap, you shaved. Yes, I do that periodically. Nicholas Bodo, hope your kid is okay. Yeah, she's okay. She's all right. She's just got a bit of a bug. It's Cassandra. It's one of the twins. But anyway, well, thank you guys. I really had a lot of fun chatting with you and walking around my basement. I will see you again in a couple of days and next year for another bunker tour. We'll see if it changes at all next year. But in the meantime, I was Captain Logan, and I'll see you again real soon. Bye, everybody. If I can figure out how to end the stream. Is it over here? Okay. Bye, everybody.